Hello, my name is Jim. Welcome to my booktube channel about books and reading and stuff. In this video I want to tell you about 20 booktubers who I follow, whose content I really enjoy. These aren't the only booktubers I follow over 50 booktubers. I've been a booktuber since the 20th of September. Booktube is a section of YouTube where people present videos about books and about bookish topics. Booktube is a community. The best thing about Booktube for me is the people. I want to tell you about 20 of my favourite booktubers. I don't have the technical know-how to show you clips of their videos, but I'll link to their channels in the description box below so you can check them out. I'll start with the smaller booktubers and work my way up to the bigger booktubers. Smaller booktubers for me are booktubers with less than 1,000 subscribers. I'm very much a small booktuber. I have about 160 subscribers. The first one is Booktube with Simon. Simon is Scottish. His channel is very amusing. At the moment he's looking at Shuggate, where there's a controversy between him and Ange about the Booker Prize winning novel Shuggate. The second booktuber is Kate at Love Story. Kate is very softly spoken. She reads a lot. She's read over 100 books this year and she talks about them all on her channel. The third is Red Wine. That's Red, R-E-D, Red, R-E-A-D, a punny title. This is Kristen's channel. Kristen created the fantasy sports team tag, where you create a sports team with your fantasy characters in it. In my fantasy sports team I had Hodor in goal and I had Katniss as my centre forward. Booktuber is Margaret Pinard. I've had a lot of interaction on Booktube with Margaret Pinard. She's a writer based in Portland, Oregon. She's written the Remnants Series, which I've really enjoyed, about a family of Scottish Highlanders who moved from the Highlands to Nova Scotia in the 1820s. And Margaret Pinard is involved in lots of cultural activities. She started the JolabokaflodPDX, which is based on the Icelandic tradition of giving books just before Christmas, and she has various activities with that on her channel. Fifth is Gregory La Perche, another YouTuber I've had a lot of interaction with. He's very into Brandon Sanderson. He contacted me because I was talking about no logo on my channel. He's also very into politics and he also took part in the fantasy football tag. 6 is Gunpowder, Fiction and Plot. These are two Aussie booktubers and their dog. They talk a lot about writers of different voices, like queer writers and writers, people of colour, Aboriginal writers, Indigenous writers. It's a very interesting channel they have. 7 is Man Carrying Thing. I don't know his name, but he's a student studying literature, studying English. He's very intelligent, very knowledgeable about writing styles, even about things like gerunds. He's a fan of Brandon Sanderson, as is Gregory LaPerche, and I learnt a lot from him. 8, there's the wonderfully titled Scallydandling about the books. This is Roz's channel. Roz is based in the south of England, in Sussex. She was very active in October and Victober month, talking about a lot of Victorian classics. She also is taking part in the JolabokaflodPDX book tag, which I can't really pronounce, but that's part of the fun of it. And I really enjoy her channel and we've interacted quite a lot. She commented on my videos, I've commented on hers. Number 9 is Hannah of Hannah's Books. Hannah co-wrote Unspeakable, the story of Junius Wilson with Susan Birch. Junius Wilson was a black man who was imprisoned in a state mental hospital in North Carolina for 76 years. Despite never being found insane by any medical professional, he was just black and deaf in the Jim Crow South. Hannah puts out videos to do with Victober, which is where I came across her videos. She also looks at poetry and non-fiction, and she's very interesting and erudite. Then we have Megan at Megan's Reading Revelations. Megan talks a lot about science fiction and fantasy, her book hauls, her TBRs, and is very entertaining. At 10 there's Shawn, the book Maniac. Shawn's videos always start with this extract from a black and white film about these two strange boys in a library. One of them's called Ulysses, and the older boy picks out a pretty book and shows it to Ulysses. Shawn is a Canadian living in Japan, and he mainly talks about literary fiction. He also has the page 112 tag, where to decide whether a book is worth reading or not, he looks at page 112 and reads that. The idea is that the first pages will be very polished by the author, but by page 112 it'll have got into the full flow of the story, and we'll get a better idea of what type of writer it is, what type of book it is from what we read on page 112. At 11 is Kate Howe. I came across Kate Howe in Victober. She was one of the hosts of Victober. She talks a lot about classical fiction. She also talks a lot about detective fiction and whodunit fiction, and she's very entertaining. At 12 we have Jess Owens. Jess Owens doesn't just talk about books, sometimes she talks about baking and other things, a bit like my channel sometimes deviates from the bookish norm. Jess also talks about some of the controversy in Booktube, some of the gossip and some of the things which are happening, some of the CommuniTEA. And 13, I have Claudia at Spinster's Library. Claudia is a German-Italian who's just moved from Wales back to Germany. I've been following her Booktube channel from before I was a Booktuber myself. She's very entertaining, very engaging. She's recently done a Doctor Who book tag, which is very fun, and I'll be looking forward to other people doing her Doctor Who book tag. 14, we have Steve Donoghue. Steve Donoghue lives in Boston. He's a great fan of the Brattle bookstore in Boston. Steve is somebody who spends his days reading and reviewing books. That's what he does, that's his occupation, his vocation, and he's extremely knowledgeable about all types of books and fiction and yes, and history. He's very knowledgeable. At first I was put off from his videos because they just seem very long, but he's so entertaining and engaging, they're worth watching. Then we have Mara at bookslikewhoa. Mara reads an incredible 300 or so books a year. This is like a book every day. She's another person that spends her time reading. She has videos also on how to read faster, and she's very knowledgeable and entertaining. 16, we have Katie at Books and Things. I first came across Booktube through Katie's channel. Katie is a great Dickens fan and a fan of Victorian literature in general. She's one of the hosts of Victober. She's another one who reads a lot. She reads about 200 books a year. She works in publishing. Her favourite book is Our Mutual Friend, and from her recommendations I've read Our Mutual Friend, Dombey and Son, and I'm very happy with her recommendations so far. I also want to read The Colour Purple, which she recommended. She doesn't just talk about classic fiction, she also talks about contemporary literature as well, and she's very knowledgeable and entertaining. Now we're coming to the big booktubers, those who have more than 50,000 subscribers. First is Emily Fox, who's from Canada. probably maybe French Canadian, because her pronunciation of the French is spot on, but her pronunciation of some English words is a bit strange. She talks a lot about fantasy books, about science fiction books. She's very engaging and very entertaining. 19 is Merphy Napier. She has over 200,000 subscribers. She's a very engaging personality. She talks about books next to a very big bookshelf. She talks a lot about fantasy and science fiction. She's a big Harry Potter fan. But at 20 we have Read with Cindy. Cindy is a very big booktuber. She has 268,000 subscribers. She's very funny. She's very sarcastic. She's from the west coast of America. She's Asian American. I think she has a background in design. She's very entertaining. She often does something else while delivering her content, like once she was showing how she cooks mac and cheese while delivering her content. But listen to what she says about books. Don't follow her instructions for mac and cheese. It won't work very well. So my 20 booktubers. I could also mention PewDiePie. He's not a booktuber, but sometimes he talks about books and he has a massive following. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you can like and subscribe below, and I will see you on the next video.